Hi, my name's Wes, and I work in conversion rate optimization and customer acquisition. Majority of my work takes place with online campaigns for internet companies, and what I do is work on existing campaigns to figure out ways to make them more profitable, to acquire customers much more cheaply, and to figure out how to expand the reach and total customer acquisition through those channels. So basically, my job is to figure out how to make the marketing of a company make the company more money. So this first case study is all about copywriting, and specifically I want to talk about the ways that I think about advertising and the ways I think about why somebody would be interested in a product, and how to figure out a way to reverse engineer a set of beliefs and a set of needs and a set of priorities in a customer's life and back that up into a campaign which supports the idea that your product can solve problems that that person is facing. That's extremely, extremely important when the product you are selling does not have an obvious functional purpose. So if you were to sell somebody a hammer, they're only going to buy a hammer if they need to, use it to construct something. And if they don't have any purpose or any need for a hammer, then they simply will have no interest in buying it, no matter what the quality of your copywriting. Outside of purely utilitarian purchases, of which, most products fall, the ability to convince people through copywriting and through salesmanship that they would be better off with your product becomes extremely important. Okay, so does this really matter? Does it really make more money by making copywriting slightly more efficient? Yes. Here's why. This case study is going to show you exactly how changing 6 words in a headline immediately doubled the amount of orders placed for every dollar spent on advertising and cut the customer acquisition costs for this company in half. So if the company was previously getting 10 orders for every $100 spent, now they're getting 20. And if the customers used to cost $15 a head, now they're costing $7.50 a head. And by doing this, you're able to dramatically increase the margin portion of your revenue relative to your overhead and your marketing expenses. And that makes the company much, much, much more profitable than it previously was by being able to optimize away waste in marketing and to acquire customers more cheaply. Okay, so going into this campaign, once I took on the project, I wanted to see exactly how we could create new marketing, new copywriting, new headlines that reflect the idea that this product could solve problems in somebody's life that have nothing to do with the product itself. So, in effect, I'm creating a perception that the product is a solution to a problem that is outside the scope of the existing campaign. And did this enormously abstract idea work? Yes, fantastically. We touched on it earlier, but we are able to cut customer acquisition costs in half, acquire twice as many customers for the same marketing spend, and in doing this, we took a small seasonal company and produced 6 figures in new product orders that came directly from this campaign, which previously was breaking even, in a 4-week period. Okay, here's the product. This is called Letter from Santa, and the idea is that a child would get a letter in the mail, and it would be from Santa Claus from the North Pole, and it would be sort of like a Mad Lib that the parent filled in online. So they'd open it up, it'd have their name, and they'd run into the living room, and they'd be like, Mommy, look what I got, blah, blah, blah. And it'd say something like, oh, dear Johnny, I'm so excited to come visit you on Christmas Eve, and I'm going to bring you the greatest gifts ever, and, your friend Michael down in hometown, variable is ready to, blah, 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 whatever. So the kid basically gets a letter, and it's from Santa, and it's about him, and his friends are mentioned, and it's meant to get the child extremely excited about the upcoming holiday. This is something that the kid opens before Christmas actually comes around. This is not a Christmas morning thing. This is like a few days before, a week before, or something like that. So The idea here is that parents buy this for their kids to get their kids super pumped for the holidays. Costs $20, and the kid gets a bunch of extras. It's got like a little vial of fake toy snow that comes supposedly from the North Pole, and it's got reindeer food with it, and it also came with a good list, and the kid's name would always be mixed in amongst a bunch of random names, and they'd find their name and they'd be really excited about it. Oh, look, mom, I'm on the good list, that sort of thing. So we were a partner company with this. We were working on a CPA model through our team, and we were getting $18.50 per new customer, regardless of how many orders they placed. So the product company would basically break even on their overhead costs plus the acquisition costs through us on a customer that only placed one order, and they would find their margin on customers with multiple orders, because we wouldn't get a piece of order 2, 3, or 4 if they were ordering for like multiple grandchildren or multiple kids, or basically any situation where they had more than one order. Now, this company was using Facebook newsfeed ads as their originating source, their first traffic source, which makes a lot of sense because it is such a universal product. Every parent, could potentially want to order this. If you're going to go after something like that, you want the most broad, cheapest, most almost least targeted solution, because really with a product that is so universal and such an impulse buy, you want to shotgun it out to the newsfeed of every single parent, and then figure out a way to make the product appeal to parents in aggregate. Really, that's much different than something like Google AdWords, where this might work, but the volume would be so low as to be insignificant, just because AdWords is a platform that depends on customers already having the intent to purchase a product. So if somebody types in, I need headache medicine or something like that, they already know before they even see your landing page or your ad that their intent is to buy. With something like this, people don't know it exists, and we have to distract them and say, hey, look at this cool thing, this is a cool idea, and then to get them from basically grabbing their attention, take them through the AIDA process. We have their attention, we have their interest, they have the desire, and now they're going to place an order. So the reason this wouldn't work on AdWords is that nobody goes to AdWords and types in letters from Santa or have Santa send my child a letter. And if they do type those things in, then they will see that there's a bunch of free little kits that they can do it on their own, and the paid solution is probably going to be looked over or competed with, or it's just not going to go very well as a traffic source. So the goal basically is to figure out what is the most universal, easily accessible way to reach an enormous amount of parents with the highest quality traffic, with the least CPM costs, to be able to produce a very, very large sum of orders at a very reasonable cost per acquisition. Okay, so when I came on board, they were acquiring customers at roughly $15 each, which, given the CPA target that they were after of $18, it's acceptable. But the way that our agreement worked is we essentially made a margin on the cost differential between their CPA target and our cost per acquisition. So the project wasn't very profitable for our team until we were able to significantly reduce that cost of acquisition. So when we come on board, the CPA that they're currently getting, the cost of customer acquisition that they're currently getting at $15, it's really, really unattractive. It shows that there's hope, it shows that there's orders, but it's not anywhere near optimal at all. Okay, here's what their creatives actually looked like. I hesitate to recreate an actual newsfeed ad in this video, but I imagine know what a newsfeed post looks like. So this is the primary image type. It's always going to be Santa with the sleigh bells and the reindeer and all of this. They used an image of Santa that was mimicked and basically identical to a portrait of Santa that's on their order page, their landing page. So that continuity, that bridge of when somebody clicks on the image, they're going to go to a page that has the same image. That normally performs extremely well. So in our initial test, I didn't adjust it very much. We found out later that there were some possible advantages to be had with different image types, but that particular image wasn't really a target. The copy surrounding the image was suspect, though. So this headline, "Send Your Child a Letter from Santa," is very cut and dry. So there are some major problems with this, and the idea is that if you're selling a non-essential product that is sort of an impulse buy, being so straightforward and talking so very plainly about the functionality of it only works if somebody wants to have it already, if somebody already has the interest and already wants to buy it but just hasn't gotten around to it. So you're not convincing somebody that previously wasn't interested in this whatsoever that this could be a good idea. You're simply just hoping that there's enough low-hanging fruit in the population that is exposed to your advertisement that you come up with a profitable campaign. That's not a very good way to market a product. So initially, the first thing I wanted to do was try to figure out how we can create an emotional appeal, because it is an emotional product. It's an emotional product because it's something that they're doing to get an emotional response out of another person, their child. So the more I started thinking about this, the more I realized that the product wasn't really a piece of paper. The product was a feeling, and the product was a sense of excitement and a sense of wonder that Santa Claus is out there and he's going to come here and this is going to be the greatest Christmas ever. And that emotion that is transferred from like the parent to the child, that is what they are purchasing for $20. It's not a piece of paper and a random toy. It's this sense of wonder and this sense of excitement and this sense of anticipation for the upcoming Christmas season, for the upcoming Christmas night, Christmas Eve, whatever. So I wanted to figure out a way to basically make the product exciting in a way that has nothing to do with the front-loaded description of the product. So the reason that I don't like it so much is that this sort of product is going to immediately be tagged as another useless toy by almost any parent that looks at it. So parents are marketed to extremely aggressively by toy manufacturers and back-to-school ads and things of this nature, where the parent always feels pressured to buy things and more things, new things, shinier things for the child, because that child is so very special to them, so they want the best for them. And basically marketers run the entire gambit on this sense of emotion and this sense of worry and concern for one's children. So that creates a lot of defensiveness around the idea of a useless product. So simply approaching it and saying, oh, this is this cool toy, I don't really think that's going to sell enough on a large enough basis, with a low enough cost per acquisition, with enough emotional interest, with enough. It's just, it performs very much like what you'd expect it to, where it costs about $15 to acquire a customer. It's just about breaking even with this enormously high margin product, and in general, it's uninspiring. So we need to figure out a better way, a more exciting way, a more touching way to make parents actually want to buy this for a purpose other than entertaining the child for 90 seconds. Okay, so what does the brainstorming process for recreating this ad campaign look like? First, we've really got to understand the buyer's mindset. And I've talked a lot about this sprinkled in through the commentary here. But basically, we know that the buyers are grandparents and parents. We know that most of them are marketed to highly aggressively, and the general climate of the last 5, 6, 7 years has been one of financial stress and one where money has been tight. So we know that Christmas is extremely stressful for parents because there are all of these expectations and all of these bills and all of these ideas that they have to spend all of this time, prepping for the big guests to come over and family, and they want to make everything look as good as possible, and they're worried about being judged, and they don't want their children to be disappointed because their friends got better gifts or had a better vacation or had a better Christmas, or they don't want to be, basically, parents feel an enormous amount of pressure to do absolutely everything right and to be able to give everybody everything that they want. And the thing is that is almost always impossible. So there's this looming dread around the holidays, even if everything's going great, but just parents, every single parent I've ever talked to or dealt with that wasn't extremely well off in life, they're excited for the holidays, but they can't wait till they're over. So then we take all of these ideas that we found and all of these thoughts that we've come up with regarding the way that the average American parent thinks about Christmas, and we have to create a new campaign that speaks specifically to them, and it offers them an immediate benefit. It offers them a lifeline. It says, hey, you, I understand what you're going through. This will make it better. That's basically what we want to do with this campaign, is instead of making it something where the product, the piece of paper, the letter for the child is for the child, what if instead we figured out a way to make this gift to one's child really about making their own life easier? Now, of course, there are, all of the benefits of giving the gift to the child, making the child excited, but let's think about ways where we can figure out how to make the child's excitement an enormous benefit and enormous relief and pressure off of the parent's shoulders. So that's where I went with this campaign. And here's a very long version of what the headline seems to want to accomplish. And then we'll go through this, and then we'll show you what the boiled down version of this looks like. Okay, so I've gone over most of these individual points at some point in this commentary, but altogether, this paragraph, or I guess section of paragraphs, this long article here, this is the feeling, this is the emotion, these are the concerns, these are the worries, this is the mental state that this campaign wants to reach out and grab onto people's attention with. It's not the point of the campaign is not to say, hey, here's a toy for a child. The point is to say, we understand what you're going through. This will make it better. So running through very quickly, why are you working all that overtime? You're stressed over Christmas bills. You've got the guests coming over. You got to worry about cleaning the house, cooking, entertaining. Are you worried that you'll be a horrible mother if Christmas isn't as great as it could be for your children? Are they going to be crushed if their friends have better gifts or Christmases or vacations, and your kids don't get to participate with their friends because you're not making enough money, or things aren't really in your budget, or you simply don't have enough time because you're working so hard to make sure your kid has all these other parts of their life put together? This is something I didn't talk about previously, but the idea that parents could put in all of this effort and all of this time and all of this worry and have all of these bills and work all these extra hours and do all of this to have a great Christmas, and then the fear that the child may just not care, may just be completely apathetic about the holidays entirely. And that's a real fear for a subsection of parents. It's the idea that the kid could just be completely impossible to convince to care about Christmas, and the problems and the effort and the stresses that the parent goes through are for nothing at all. So that all of those emotions, all of those fears, all of those worries all string together is basically, that's our target. That's our target market. That's what we want to go after. That's who we want to appeal to. And the entire goal of this campaign is to create a headline that says, all of these issues, all these worries, all of this stuff, this will help you. This will make it worth it. This will make it okay. That's the headline, and that's how it has to be interpreted by the parent. Now, the thing is, we can't actually talk about all this doom and gloom in our headline. You couldn't actually write a headline that says, worried that Christmas will suck, this will make it great. And that's just not going to work. Although, now that I think about it, I think it'd be awesome to run a test on it just to see. But what we want to do is create an ad, a headline that it reaches out and it touches all of these concerns that are in the back of the parent's mind, but doesn't directly address them. And then we have to have the same headline, the same handful of words, be something that stands out so much that it grabs somebody's attention and it hints at the idea, the benefit, the core upside of the product, which is the child's excitement. It has to really, really emphasize the idea that the kid is going to love it. So those two elements combined, all of this dread, all of this fear, and then the child's happiness has to be strung together with an attention-grabbing headline in like 7 words or less because of the format of newsfeed ads. We can't have these long headlines. So this was the absolute home run of the entire test. This headline here, "Mommy, look what Santa sent me." That outperformed the original version, which is "Send your child a letter from Santa," by 100%. So for every single order that the old headline created, this headline would produce 2. So the effects of that are it's a domino effect, really. What ends up happening is that because you have such an enormous new margin, because you have such a lower cost of acquisition, so your profit per individual order skyrockets, suddenly you can afford to place way more ads. You can go after more demographics. You can run at a scale that allows you to have enough actionable data running through your servers so you can segment out each individual subsection of the population and sort it out by age and gender and number of children and do all of this analytics work to figure out exactly what type of parent orders most frequently with the highest rate and therefore has the lowest acquisition costs. And then create new subsections of ads that target those individual populations. Basically, in marketing, especially in direct response marketing and customer acquisition, success leads to more success, because as soon as you start being able to produce sales at volume, you're immediately producing so much more data, and that additional data gives you all the insights you need in order to produce sales more efficiently, and it becomes this giant cycle that goes on and on and on, and you become better and better at the entire process. Sometimes the most difficult portion is just figuring out how you break the ice and immediately shoot from break even to enormously profitable before you worry about all the small optimizations and analytics. So this headline, "Mommy, look what Santa sent me," was absolutely game-changing. This was by far the best headline we were able to create and test. This just was tremendously successful, and it works because it's something that easily grabs the attention of mothers, and then we switch around for fathers. We target men, and we say, "Daddy, look what Santa sent me." So, but the idea is it grabs the attention of the parent because somebody reads "mommy" or somebody reads "daddy" and they imagine it being their child's voice. When a parent reads this headline, they imagine it being their child saying this, and then it's immediately possible for them to put themselves mentally in a situation where they think and they visualize the idea of their child saying that phrase to them. And that makes somebody so much more interested in what the product could be that could produce that positive of a result out of their child. And suddenly that leads to an increase in click-through rate. And that leads that initial desire, before you even know what the product is, can carry its momentum forward and leads to an increase in conversion rate. And then combined between the increased conversion rate and the increased click-through rate, you have a significantly lower cost of acquisition, and your ROI, your return on investment on advertising budgets, skyrockets. Now, we only had a 3 to 4 week period to run the campaign, test it, scale it, and acquire as many sales as possible, because we were approached by the partner company somewhere right around Thanksgiving, and the nature of the product, because it has to be given to the child before Christmas and there's shipping logistics timeouts in the middle, orders stopped coming in, I believe, about a week before Christmas, so it must have been somewhere on the December 18th or so. So we had about a 3-week period. And in that window, we went from a break-even campaign that was hardly worth running to producing well over $100,000 in sales. And of course, if we had a longer period, if it was a more universal or more or less time-sensitive product, we'd be able to use all this additional data to further refine and test endlessly and be able to really, really scale up. But as an example, as a case study in copywriting, I love this campaign because it so very clearly talks about what the problems with using a straightforward approach are, understanding the mindset behind the buyer and why they'd ever want to buy this product, and then reformatting the ad creative to target those emotions specifically. And those 3 steps are, really it's the fundamentals of understanding salesmanship in print or salesmanship via digital media or anything of this nature. Like, just understanding copywriting is so essential to actually selling a product. This is probably my favorite individual project I've worked on, just because it so very clearly demonstrates the idea that just changing a handful of words, literally 6 words, can take your product sales from barely breaking even to enormously successful. And it's just about understanding how to speak to your audience in a way that connects with them at their deepest levels. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned something from it. If you're interested in having me look at your products and working on your ad campaigns, please send me an email. I'll list all of the information below, and let me know if you enjoyed this video, because if people find these informative, if people enjoy listening to them, if they learn anything, I'd be happy to create tons more. Thank you.